Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Monaco.
And I'm Bobby Salvesen. We are the Hazmat Guys, bringing you knowledge and insight to make your job a little bit easier and safer.
Let's take a minute to hear about today's sponsors.
Hey guys, Bobby from the Hazmat Guys here, and this episode is brought to you by FLIR Systems. If you're not sure about your white powder is fentanyl, or maybe you suspect that you have an explosive hazard, or you need to confirm that the leaking barrel is toxic, the FLIR Griffin G510 GCMS is your go-to for next-level on-scene chemical identification. Mounted in your vehicle or carried to the point of sample collection, it is always ready. Using the built-in touchscreen, start the method wizard to help you select the best method for the mission. If you have no time, no lab, it's no problem. You can quickly identify unknown chemicals with accuracy. To learn more, go to FLIR.com/G510, or that's FLIR, FLIR.com/G510.
Let's get to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hazmat Guys. I'm Bobby, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello, everybody.
On episode 211, we're going to be finishing up our, the tips for operations level person.
Yeah, on scene. Things that we've seen as we've kind of gone about the country teaching that are similar mistakes among teams that kind of make things go awry. Not that they wouldn't have gotten to the end goal, not that they wouldn't have reached the conclusion that they would have, but just it makes the operation run smoother and better in case you have those multiple failures that lead to disaster.
Right. So it's kind of the dead season for us right now in as far as conferences and speaking. I mean, we got some stuff on the hook, but nothing really solid right now.
Which is getting tough, guys. I've walked into our conference room, and Bob is just standing at the podium talking to nobody. So
it's true.
He needs this to we can't just stop.
It balances me.
It does.
It so balances.
So we need an audience for him.
So, let's just get right into it, right?
Alrighty.
We basically finished off last week with a bit of the ERG, and talk about that kind of stuff. But the next one, basically, a good chunk of last week was about life.
Yeah, we really wanted to focus in on life last week because it is it's such a vital part of the FRO's operation, and we tell people all the time, right? We're not the heroes. We will never be the hero in the story as a technician. Right. The heroes of the story are the first responder operations. They're the regular firefighters. They're the ones that are going to be a hero. I'm not rescuing anybody in a level A, right? I'm going in and I'm a glorified plumber.
That's good.
Right? It's essentially what it is. We focus on the next stuff, which is going to be kind of like the property and the environment, but there are some things that the first responders operation can do to land with that. And before we turn around and are like, oh, well, screw it. There's no life. I don't have to worry about that. I'm just a firefighter. Don't forget that there is a national standard as far as how you should be operating, which means that if you don't do something that you were supposed to do to protect the environment or to protect somebody's property, and it lands within something you could have done or should have done, there's legal recourse for them to come after you for neglect.
Okay. Now, and this is a sticky point that people often around me go about. They're like, well, let him sue me. My department will back me up.
Yeah, no, they won't.
No, not at all, actually.
They don't have to back you up. You know, they could turn around and be like, oh, shit, look at that. No, he was totally acting outside of what he should have been doing. We're not going to support this. This is not the chief that we trained. We invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in him, and he didn't do what he was supposed to do. No, let him hang.
Right. And it happens all too often. We did a show for the conferences. It's called Do Not Pass Go, Do Not Collect $200. And I did case studies on officers and chiefs that acted way outside, almost definitely negligent, if not malfeasant, into their duties. And they were like, you know what, the department will indemnify me. and these guys either got sued criminally or civilly. One actually went to jail, and that's real life, guys. Like so you have to stay within the parameters. And my best advice, if you go back to our previous episodes and you listen to some of the stuff we've done on NFPA and OSHA and that kind of stuff, is if you're going to be playing the game, you have to know the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
especially as a chief, like, because the firefighters are the firefighters, right? Like, if they, they're going to do the life thing. But
right.
if you tell them not to do the property thing or the environment thing, and they don't because they're following your orders, right? This isn't like a Nuremberg trial, right? You told them not to do it, and they're probably not going to do it, and that's going to land on your shoulders.
Right.
So a lot of responsibility those gold leafs have. We are responsible within those realms of defensive operations.
Okay.
We are responsible to perform those operations in order to save property, right? So if we have a spill in a basement of home heating oil, which I know huge chunks of the country are going, why do you have oil in your basement? It's a Northeast thing. Don't worry about it. We do. So we have a spill in the basement, and you don't do something as simple as throw a pop-up pool as a catch basin, because that is a defensive operation. Or you don't put Speedy Dry around to block that oil from contaminating other parts of the house. You could be on the hook for the damage done to that. The insurance company could turn around and be like, hey, listen, this wouldn't have happened if they did their job. So it's something that we need to think about, and we want to make sure that we're doing it within those defensive operations. The damming, the diking, what are some other of the defensive operations that we could do?
Absorbing. Adsorbent, a crowd favorite, the ad and ab.
Ooh,
remember that?
Yes. I always love it when I'm told I'm using one word versus the other. It just makes me want to strangle somebody.
What a nightmare that was when we did that. That was crazy. What other things? You got damming, diking, diverting.
Shut off valves, remote shut-off valves.
Yep.
All right. So a perfect example like that, and we just had this happen recently in a very familiar department, but I won't give away which department it is, where they did not hit the emergency shutoff on a 407. A DOT 407, and over 1,000 gallons of gasoline went into the sewer system.
Interesting.
Well, it is entirely possible that somebody could turn around and make us think about that and be like, how come you first due units didn't properly perform your duties?
And it had an impact on the property, what would be the fuel, that is property, and even that takes us kind of into the environment.
Yeah, actually, it does both. You're right. If we look at the property as the fuel and the actual spill as the environment, it's a double whammy.
Right. So, just these basic tools, these pop-up pools, and there's guys that'll say, and this is always something that you'll see on the screen. You'll see, especially in the ERG, I don't know why it just pops up in my head when I think in FRO, when they're talking about small leak and big leak. And it's almost eternal that you have that drum that's on its side and it's leaking out the large bung. The liquid is leaking out. It looks like water. And so the instructor always says, hey, guys, what do we do with this drum? How do we get this to stop leaking? And the correct answer is we're going to roll it so that the bung's on the top, and now we don't have a liquid leak anymore. And then the instructor goes, aha, is that an offensive move or is it defensive? And truth be told, it's probably more of an offensive move.
Well, I think at that point you're kind of dealing with, am I playing in the product or am I not?
Right. We can do it smart. I can come around for an area that I'm not affected and actually stop it. But the end game is there is no life in this scenario. And the property, a.k.a. the fuel, is coming out. And if I don't do it, it's actually making the environment worse. So am I within my rights to do it? And I would say, yeah, I think you can go up to that drum using common sense, due caution, whatever the hell you want to use, roll the thing over, put a rock on the left and a right so it doesn't roll, and leave it there.
Yep.
There's no problem there.
There's no problem. Now, Bob said a really important point in all that. He said with due caution. even when we're dealing with the property and the environment, we're still using that cost-benefit analysis. Only there's no way life can be an issue in weighing it. So it's a different cost-benefit analysis, right? Like there has to be almost no ability for you to get hurt doing what you're doing to save property and environment. Because the moment that there's any kind of a risk, I'm not going to say any kind of a risk, right? Because I can trip and fall just walking down the stairs. But a significant risk, then your health and your life outweigh the property and the environment. Whereas when we're dealing with life, we're kind of okay going to the burn center to save a life, right? Like I don't think there's anybody listening to this that wouldn't be like, yeah, I'll go to the second floor of a fire to pull out a kid. And if you're saying that, then you shouldn't have any problem like running through some hydrochloric acid to go pull somebody out. It's kind of the same. Like we're willing to do that. That cost-benefit analysis is not the same with property and environment. All right, your health and safety become much, much bigger priorities because that's justifiable. Oh, how come you didn't save that property? Well, because that would have put my guys' lives at risk. Okay, fine.
I like it.
All right. Number 3, the third point that you all can think about and work on to really help focus in and maximize your effectiveness as a first responder operations is understanding that when you're on a hazmat run, you have to start dealing with the collective consciousness. And what the hell does that mean? You often hear us talk about this as the hazmat huddle, and it ties in really well with the communications that we talked about in the first episode. So if you didn't hear the first episode, go listen to it, and it'll kind of tie in collective consciousness.
All right, so this comes back. Let's start with the why. Okay, so why do we do this? And this is not done like we get off the rig and automatically we just go into this like, Little Rascals huddle to discuss what we're going to do, right?
10 little heads.
Yeah, we all kind of know what meter we're bringing up. We all kind of know what kind of what our general job is to do. And so we go and do that. And basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to grab as much information and from as many point of views as possible and then bring it back to the huddle with the right people. Right?
Right.
And so this, we might talk about this in the technician specialist level stuff, but this is absolutely something that can be done for improved strategic and tactical. And I'm talking about course tactical, like chunky tactical thought. So if you had that happen, okay, we have all these information, we bring it back, we bring in, select members of the incident command structure, and we start discussing what we can do defensively, what resources we might, and you kind of expand on it and say, okay, well, and this is where the really strategy and tactics comes in because, if you tell the kids, hey, go clean your room, they're like, okay, no problem. The key aspect, you didn't say, I want it cleaned like I like it cleaned by 4 p.m. So you have to give them the task, the measurement you want it by, and the time it's to be expected to be cleaned in, right? And it goes the same way with all of these things. The chief says something very, broad, like I want this hazmat operation cleaned up as per EPA guidelines by $1,600 hours. They will never say something like that, but you understand. And then we start breaking it down into tactics. What companies are going to do what. And then within that company, hey, Joe's going to bring the broom. And then Joe is going to go over and say, I want this broom. And you can see how it gets more granular as we go through. But the hazmat huddle is really the genesis of all that.
It truly is. It's where we kind of all come together. And you describe it really well in one of our lectures as far as the difference between doing something repetitively and then having to do it for the first time. And how does that interact with a first due company showing up on a hazmat run and they're the only ones there? And why should that go into collective consciousness? Why should everybody, because of that, be on the same page?
You're talking about the hard drive being blank.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you think about how your body and your mind works. as you grow experiences in doing things, you gain let's say a program. Think of your computer like a head like a computer. And so when I go out and I do a task and it was successful, my brain says, okay, that worked out pretty well. So if I see something like this again, run program XYZ, and that program is saying fire muscles 13275 in this succession and you will be successful. Okay, great. And it puts it away. And so the next time this operation comes up, your mind goes indexing through all the shit you've ever done in your life in like a millionth of a second, finds the program, says execute right now, and it does it. And what happens is, more than like, I'm not saying every time, and not every situation is the same, but it's surprising how well we do when we're in a similar situation in a different, let's say, environment.
So what you're describing right now would land under high frequency stuff.
High frequency. Right.
So how does that change when we start to go to low frequency stuff?
Well, the problem is that the hard drive is empty, right? So now let's say we have something that's a low frequency operation that we do not, that we have time, there's not a lot of urgency, and I have time to sit there and go, okay, listen, I've never done this before, but I can look this up in books, I can look at YouTube, I can read a paper on it, I can talk with people. We have time to think, right? And these are the majority of these low-frequency ones that we can kind of benefit from. The problem is that we have a rush-in mentality, police, fire, EMS, and we just want to go, 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 go. And so when we start turning these low-frequency things that we have no prior hard drive experience on to we have no time to think, that is where the truly dangerous stuff comes in. This, let me bring this now back to the hazmat huddle, is when you have a hazmat huddle and you have 5, 10, 15 guys, the likelihood of one or two of these guys having a little experience or a program that maybe not be the program, but something similar or parallel improves.
Right.
Hey guys, you've heard us talk about First Line Technologies' Dahlgren Decon solution and their FiberTech wipes and mitts. Well, they've had a lot of their customers ask them to provide in-depth training on using Dahlgren Decon, FiberTech wipes, as well as their various kits, and now they've created a First Line Utilization Academy to deliver the range of classes designed to improve their students' knowledge of hybrid decontamination. They have a special comprehensive Train the Trainer course designed to prepare trainers and hazmat team leaders to return to their organizations and conduct training. The participants in this course will receive a template lesson plan, a presentation they can use to train their teams, and a quick reference book they can use in the field. Now, class size for the Train the Trainer class is limited to 6 to 8 participants, and classes fill up fast, so reserve your desired training date today. They will also conduct customized on-site classes to entire teams to give everybody both classroom instruction and hands-on experience in using Dahlgren Decon and FiberTech wipes for hybrid decontamination. Call the guys at First Line Technology for more information or to register for a class at 703-955-7510 or email them at training@firstlinetech.com. All right, let's pick up where we left off.
And that's why it's up to everybody on scene to be able to work together to try to solve this puzzle. Because we are getting all these new experiences, but everybody comes from different other experiences that they can put together. Maybe somebody's a plumber. Maybe somebody's got a really great background in mechanics. Maybe somebody is a closet hazmat person who's a firefighter, and they just happen to listen to this program and they see something that sparks a memory from the show. This is why that huddle is so important, because you're not making decisions based upon one impulse. You're making decisions based upon 10 other people's impulses. So it's the hazmat huddle is definitely a great way to go. With that collective consciousness, in order for us to be able to all have the correct input, this is where the communication comes involved, right? So one of the things we see is that officers are not painting a very good picture to the incident commander of what exactly is going on.
Yeah, we started talking about this back in the last episode, in episode 210, about the two-way street of communication. And a couple of emails came in about, hey, can you go into this a little more? Well, let's see. Here we go. So it starts off with the premise that we are all working together to solve this problem together, right? The hazmat huddle kind of established our goals, our projections, and now it's time to actually put the rubber to the road. And we're moving forward with the understanding that, like, there is a really good chance that nobody's done this before. Maybe nobody in the huddle has any programming to go parallel, similar, nothing. And we have an issue, right? So everybody's input, as small, as seemingly insignificant as it may seem, may be enormous in reality, right?
Yeah. Because if the information isn't being spread, then you don't have the eyes to be able to send you back information to what people think are important, right? So if I'm trying to think of something really quick off the top of my head. Let's say we had a poison. All right, I'm going to go back to a run that we had. We have a poison flipped over in a mixed load tractor trailer, and only the officers of the resource person and the officer know what that poison looks like. All right. And in this instance, the poison was a very clear, thick, viscous fluid. If somebody were to see a thick, viscous fluid flowing out from underneath the tractor trailer in a completely different location than where the poison was supposed to be, and they didn't know what that poison looked like, they wouldn't be able to turn around and say, hey, wow, that stuff you were talking about, that kind of looks like what you were describing. Because the boss didn't see it, the resource guy didn't see it, the chief didn't see it, or doesn't know about it. So that information could get lost. But if everybody knows, hey, listen, we've got a poison here, and the poison is a thick, clear, viscous fluid, now everybody can keep their eyes open for something that could potentially be a thick, viscous fluid among this operation.
I'm gonna branch off for a second here because it brings up something interesting, and it's another, I hate to say it, another presentation that we do about this flow of information, right? So we all understand that awareness is the bottom. That's people that don't get on fire trucks. Operations get on their emergency vehicles or whatever it might be, and they respond into the awareness call. And then you have higher ranks of technician and specialist. And then you got incident commander. And the funny thing is that the incident commander is above operations but below technician. So in all reality, if we were to go to a scene where, and this is something that me and Mike have to deal with, is that when we go to these scenes, what if the incident commander is the least trained of all of us? The least experienced, the least, I'm not going to say a lot. I know it or I know them but I'm sure they're out there. There are a lot of incident commanders that say, well, I'm the incident commander, and regardless of how much knowledge I have in this field, I am still the chief. I am still the boss. And they are. But what happens, and this is something that you guys maybe have to deal with or even start a discussion at the table. What do you do when the chief has no idea and won't yield the microphone, we'll say, to the guys that really do know? They're like, no, I'm still a chief, and regardless of whether you know what to do or not, I'm not doing what you say because it doesn't jibe in my head.
Right.
And so, like, I'm going to smash this square peg into a round hole using tactics that aren't for hazmat to bring this to a resolution. Whether it works or not is not matter. It's the resolution I want.
Right.
So the hazmat huddle, it could get a little sticky.
It definitely could. There's no doubt about that. You need an incident commander who understands what we're talking about. These two episodes really are very important for an incident commander to listen to. These are FRO incident commanders that we're speaking to, because if they can understand these points, then they can get their team on the same page. Because it really needs to be that incident commander to go, okay, everybody come here. I need to talk to everybody. All right, everybody, this is what we're dealing with. This is our goal. This is what we're after. anybody sees anything that looks out of the ordinary or they think can help the situation, I need you to tell your officer, who's going to tell me, and then I'm going to tell everybody else if I deem that information as necessary. And that's what you need to have in a hazmat first response, right? Those first due companies coming up, that is the attitude that needs to happen. And it's so difficult because it's such a different attitude than what we have when we're responding to a fire, where everybody knows their part, everybody knows what's important, everybody knows that this job has to get finished before this part can begin, and we're all on the same page. Because of what Bob talked about before with the low frequency, high risk, it just totally changes how we need to work. And we do this very well in the hazmat world, but when we start to take the hazmat world and we apply it to FRO, this is the attitude that we need you guys to have to be able to work effectively.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If you want more information on anything that we're talking about, all right, we've mentioned 3 of our 90-minute to 2-hour lectures.
It's so weird.
We literally talked about Chief, We're Gonna Crash, which is all about when you have that disconnect happening, how to deal with it, and what ways you can get better team unity on the run. We talked about Do Not Pass Go, which is the legal crap that's happened in the past. What was the third one that we talked about?
Do not collect $200. The other one about the.
That's the legal one. There was a third one. I don't remember. We've got so many good ones.
There's so many to pick from.
So many to pick from. You know, we can go more in depth or come to the lectures and sit and do more in depth. But with the 5 minutes we have remaining, I want to talk really quick about Decon from the first responder operations level, from those standard firefighters. And this is something that, again, low frequency, high risk for the victim and the firefighters. We tend to see that Decon becomes overcomplicated. And an instructor that I was with just recently, Pat, who was absolutely phenomenal, he put it best, is that we need to simplify our Decon. We become way too focused on the things we think are supposed to happen that we forget to look at what we have, look at the goals, and do what it takes for that situation to go from point A to point Z in the least amount of stops possible. Mm-hmm. So when we're looking at emergency decon for victims, who are we talking about? We're talking about civilians. We're talking about people that we roll up on scene that have been covered in something. What is it? It is literally a quickly get this stuff off of them as quickly as possible and wash them down. Where does that happen? Anywhere you have water, right? If you're on the 37th floor of a high-rise, it's probably a shower. Knock on somebody's apartment. See if you can use their shower. It could be a standpipe in a stairwell. Anywhere you have water. You want to do this as quickly as possible, and you want to do it to get the contamination off of them. So we're wetting them down, and we're stripping them as quickly as possible. Some of the things that we've seen in this process are people setting up technical decons and throwing victims in pop-up pools. People watering down the victims but not stripping them of their clothes. Trying to just scrub them down with brushes and soap. We're mixing up what we want to do. We want to get the stuff off. We want to clean them, and we want to get them to the hospital as quickly as possible.
Right. Now, I will go through emergency personnel, right? It might be police or fire. It is a little. I'm going to speak a little bit about the fire side only because it's not because of what I do, but
no one cares about the cops. It's okay.
No,
you can say
I do. I do. The cops don't have SCBAs on their back. And it changes a little bit of the dynamic here. So you have to understand that police, EMS won't have the SCBA, which is a huge bonus for us. But if we're on air right? We're on an SCBA, and I get exposed to something. Well, we are trained to the operation level, so we should have a little bit more of a knowledge base on what to do and how to do it, because we're the guys that are deconning people. So I know what I need to accomplish, right? I need to quickly get off my uniform, my clothes, my outer layer, the stuff that's affected with whatever it is, as quickly as possible, because I'm sure you've heard this in classes, is that you take off your clothing, or your contaminated clothing, and you take off 90% of the problem, right? So I want to get it off quickly, and you can do this anywhere. I would suggest it outside the hot zone.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about this with a bunch of guys in class. We're actually teaching a 3-week class right now. And hey, Andy Bowman, I'm just joking.
I was gonna bring him up at the end of the podcast.
Oh, see, I cut it off.
Awesome.
I just thought of it. So when they asked, what would you do? What would I personally do if I was running out of air and I'm in the hot zone and the line for the decon is moved up, and I know everybody's gonna say, well, you get a new line. There's no time for that shit, right? I would literally go right underneath the tape out to the cold zone and drop my stuff out there, and then do the mic drop, walk away. And the answer is, yeah, that now we just broken the hot zone line, and my gear is a new hot zone. Okay, but I gotta get out of that gear.
No big
right?
deal.
So
the cold
okay,
zone,
fine.
The cold zone is a very big place. It can take a little space being taken away.
And the why do we do this? It's because you have to get it off as fast as possible. It's time by the dose equals the effect, right? And the less time I have it on me, or the less of it is on me, makes my situation better. And we've seen this. We've seen guys, they'll wait in line and they will run out of air because they've been told in training over and over and over, stand in line until you get the decon. You can't get out until you get deconned. Don't go off. It's not like herding cats. It is a mentality saying, well, I might have to shuffle my on-deck line based upon air consumption, and I might have to do it 10 times a minute.
Right.
It could change.
Or there's just not a point for a first responder to be waiting to be washed down. You may have a liquid on you that you got to do a dry decon anyway, and you realize that standing in line while the other guys you're with are waiting to be washed down, and you're like, oh, wait a second. I shouldn't be washed down. That's going to push this acid through my bunker gear and onto my skin.
Good point.
I'm just going to take it off, which is exactly what we're supposed to be doing.
So we're just bringing it together, I think.
Now, when it comes to setting up technical decon, I know there are first responder operations out there that have mission-specific goals to set up technical decon. And sometimes we go a little bit overboard, and I find over and over again that the first responder operations, for some reason, they want it set up exactly how they picture it to be, like from a magazine or in their head, or like they want like 3 pop-up pools, this huge technical whatever, and it doesn't have to be that crazy, right? Technical decon is for the technicians coming out that are going to get fully washed down, or as best as possible washed down, and the purpose of it is so that when they come out of the suit, their possibility of being cross-contaminated is minimized.
Mm-hmm.
So if your department has 60 pop-up pools and 60 different stations, hey, so be it. That's great. What can I tell you? The guy who sold you that system really brought you out to a nice restaurant. But I got to be honest with you, like, 1 pop-up pool is fine too. And not using water is fine too. It is all how you want to operate, as long as you go from point A, which is dirty, to point B, which is coming out of your suit, not contaminated. What you do in the middle does not have to be complicated. It can be very, very simple. And that's really all I got. Other than to say our website is new, so go check it out. And hopefully by the time you're listening to this, you might be able to buy some stuff that look like challenge coins and our shirts and things like that. So go on the website and support the podcast.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at The Hazmat Guys, and take a moment to call our comment hotline at 843-628-1484.
And we are always looking forward to your feedback about information or interesting incidents that you were a part of, so send us a note at feedback@thehazmatguys.com.
Remember, guys, don't just get on the job, get into the job.